Good morning, everybody. We're back for another episode of Live Trading. I'm at home with Cleo, who's stoked to see everybody. We got Buddy hanging out because he missed everybody. We got 13 in the back. We got yet another special guest here for today. Let's go ahead and roll that intro. We'll get to making money.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Those words have been dancing around my head all night. Oh, it's Vegas lore, that phrase.
All right, folks, good morning and happy Synthetic Monday here on this Tuesday. I hope that you all had a great Martin Luther King holiday. Enjoyed the day yesterday, maybe some of the football games. I know the people in Detroit are still riding high after those Lions getting that victory this weekend. So welcome back to Live Trading. We're going to attack this truncated market here this week. One note today, at 10, we're going to be doing another presentation here. We're actually going to move to a presentation about taxes for traders. So it's going to be Jerry from Traders Accounting, and that's going to happen today. So a little bit of a truncated show on this truncated week, but we are going to go ahead and find out what's moving, go through the big movers, try and squeeze some money around the opening print. The special guest Kitty on the chair, but he does like to make himself special. But in the meantime, for stocking some new plays here, see what I did there with the cat in the back, we are going to bring on 13. 13, how you doing? You surviving the cold snap down there in Texas?
Doing as best as I can. How's everybody else doing this morning? Good to see y'all. And yeah, just trying to stay warm. Got my gear all set up. It's about 18 degrees outside, but it's still a good, nice, warm 68 here.
You Southern Texaners are not used to 18 degrees, so I hope everything is holding down there. Hope everyone is having a good one. We also have another special guest here today, and I don't mean Cleo. I mean Nick Brown. Nick Brown is off from school, so he's here to break down the news for us. Nick, how you doing?
Good. How's everybody else doing when you get 3 inches of snow and it's, 10 degrees and well, there's no school, essentially. So you also may see me tomorrow because we're going through a cold snap here in Western PA, guys. I think tomorrow it's going to feel like negative 10 in the morning. So bundle up.
Okay, bundle up. That's true. And actually, I've heard there's schools all over the area being canceled. It is extremely cold, negative 10 here in Chicago on my temperature reading there. So we are going to warm this place up a little bit with some special news here. Is Nick's birthday. Happy birthday, Nick. How old are you now?
Guys, 18. Sorry, 18. So I think today will mark a year, 2 years almost at Benzinga, starting like in last year. So we're moving right along. It is a pleasure to join you on the show today for my birthday. I was worried this morning. I'm like, I hope I can join Ryan. And then school closed at 7:47. I'm like, I got to join Ryan and the guys on the show.
I gotta tell you, the what a birthday present that is, right? You get school canceled and then you get to jump on the show, and now we're gonna have some fun together. I absolutely love that. Quantum Zunaid is going to be joining us at 10 for his interview with Jerry, so don't worry, you will be able to see him in just a little bit. Okay, folks, producer is freaking out with the different views back there. I absolutely love it. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on. We're going to discuss the SPY. We're going to discuss a couple of movers that are getting ready here, and we're going to have Nick break down some of the news on what's going on. So let me go ahead and flip over here. Let me bring up the SPY. Let's take a look at where we're at. If you'll remember back from last week, we did kind of approach that 480 high, did not quite touch it, and really have kind of pulled back. Now it looks like we've actually bounced off the 20-day. So really the question is, where do we go next here on the SPY? Going to be watching that, going to be watching the Qs. SPY was a little weak in the pre-market here. We've kind of bought back to even or closer to even. But we haven't really turned positive yet. So we'll see where we go. Got a lot of time here for this daily candle to be put in. Now, I'm going to run through a couple of these real quick, and then, Nick, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we will go ahead and discuss some of the news. 13, if you have any plays here that are other than the ones I'm about to mention, go ahead and jump in here, but I think we're going to be looking at about the same ones.
I think so, too.
Okay. First one on the list here is going to be ELAB. This is ticker ELAB. This is Elevate Labs. You can see this stock last week was just under $2. Here we are. We've already traded above $4 twice here today. We've come back in. We're sitting right around the VWAP. We're in really good shape here for ELAB. Volume looks good. If we take a look at the overview tab here, on average, the stock trades about 163,000 shares. Already printed 6 million here this morning. So definitely going to be crazy here on ELAB. We do have a PR this morning. It acquires a worldwide license for a worldwide license agreement, for proprietary stem cell manufacturing technology. So really good PR here. We've seen these juice a lot. Volume looks good. Levels looks good. We'll see if we can actually pop back above 427 and make a run at 450. 13, did you have any key levels here on ELAB that you wanted to take a look at early on?
I'm setting those up right now, but it doesn't look like I'm going to have a whole lot in the way of levels for this one, but I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I will notice here is the 4 level. That's we talk about round numbers providing support and resistance very, very often. There was actually some sideways trading in here back in November on ELAB. We really popped right back to that area here. So we'll see if we can take that out. Downside area for support that I have here about 330. In fact, let me go ahead and mark these just so I can make a mental note of this. I wouldn't be shocked if both of these are in play here today. So we'll go ahead and mark these off. 4, I marked it at 401. It's just 4. That round number definitely going to provide some of that. So we'll see where ELAB ends up going. Go ahead.
That's okay. If my chart's right, this isn't a very old stock. This just showed up on the market in November, and we just made, in the pre-market, the highest it's traded. So we could see this thing. I really don't know. I don't know what this could end up doing because there's not a whole lot of data looking to the left. So 4 is probably one of the only levels I have. Other than that, maybe about 310 somewhere in there is the only other one for demand zone. And that's about it.
Yeah, the other thing that we want to do is we want to watch and see how these participate with some of these levels early, right? We've traded 6 million shares here in the pre-market. Let's see what happens when the market actually opens. These levels break down. We're going to wait for that to firm up.
Yep.
Firm up anyway, excuse me. Okay, next on the list here, RVSN. This is Rail Vision. Same deal here. Stock is just under about $1.50. We did pop as high as 280, came off that. We are starting to break away from the VWAP here. So we were doing a good job staying in there, but now kind of breaking down here. I don't see any fresh news here with Rail Vision. Maybe it's this Form 6 that we got on Friday afternoon, although I don't think so. So anyway, RVSN, this one moving here, but breaking down. We'll see if this firms up and gives us an opportunity.
For what I've got with RVSN, it is a low float stock, so this is susceptible to being pushed around quite a bit. But I also noticed on January 9th, they secured a $6 million credit facility. Didn't really move on that news, and this is actually a previous runner that we've observed, or maybe even had on our radar before. Don't have the exact day when it ran, but it did run previously. I do recall that. So I think that it may be just the news is or it's trading a little late in relative to news that it got, but it is a low float, so it's getting pushed around pretty easily on that.
And that means we could see some pretty drastic moves here. VWAP at 239, stock sitting at 199, 40-cent spread right to that VWAP. So even if you get a pop out of the open here, this stock could produce a trade. Worth keeping your eyes on here. The one thing that I see on RVSN, the one thing that gives me a little bit of trepidation or wants me to wait this out a little bit, we fully broke down from the support level. And with those low floats, that can sometimes magnify, really kind of speed up in that direction. I want to see this firm. I want to see this hold here. If it does and we reclaim 2, maybe we shoot right back to that VWAP. RVSN definitely going to be in play here today. Next, I have BANL. This one we'll see. We've seen a number of these where they pop, really kind of show some good buying interest, and then they kind of break down. Right now, this didn't break all the way back down to where it came from, still sitting about 15 cents above that. We're below the VWAP. The volume really is dried up. If the volume stays dried up here, I think you could scratch this one off the list. Maybe keep it on there, see if we get a pop late, see if it gets some volume flow into it. But really, as far as do we trade this or do we not trade this, volume's going to be the trigger. So far, the volume's dying off. We need to see that come back. Otherwise, we'll just look for something else. Cleo agrees. He wants volume, volume, volume. All right, real quick here. We've got TAST. This looks like this is an acquisition. So just mentioning that to get that out of the way. Bets, remember, I think this did a 1 for 100 or a 1 for 1,000 or whatever, reverse split last week. Whatever that was, this was a penny stock here. You can see this moved up to 560. We'll take a look at this here in when the market's actually open because this thing's moving around. I simply don't trust it yet. I'm looking at the trade the pool broker here. It's spread between 5 and 10 cents, depending on where it's at. So we'll take a look at bets here. LAES is worth mentioning from last week. This gave multiple people trades last week here, and we are moving again here today. So if we take a look at last week, you see we had a huge spike. We really kind of traded back, decent bounce play that you could have played in there. And then again this morning, we're getting a move up above that 3 level and breaking back down. So we'll see if we can reclaim VRAP, reclaim 3, see if we can move towards some of those recent highs. I think that's about it. I seem to see Tilray in here every day. Really not a whole lot going on there. Excuse me. And then I did really quickly want to shout out Jay Rice. Last week when I was around the office, Luke and I were talking about some stocks. Luke was asking for some movers. I told him to mention uranium. He picked a different stock, and then as soon as Luke got on one of his things, I saw Jay Rice going off about uranium. So, Jay Rice, you were early on that. You gave us tons of DD, tons of opportunity to get into a position prior to that big move. Shout out, keep them coming on that. Okay, Nick, you ready to roll through some news movers here? I'm going to go ahead and drive, take a look at the charts. You want to roll down some news?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you could throw up a chart of PNC, ticker PNC, they reported earnings this morning. These are basically all bank earnings because we're still rolling through them since last week. They reported better than expected earnings, beating on the top and bottom line. EPS came in at 361. Estimate was for 294. Sales 5.36 billion. Estimate was for 5.29 billion. If you could throw up a chart on Morgan Stanley, they reported earnings this morning of $1.13, beating the 101 estimate. Sales came in 12.9 billion. Estimate was for 12.75 billion. Once again, they are beating. Taking a look at some underlying surfaces in Morgan Stanley, the FICC sales and trading revenue came in slightly below expectations of 1.43 billion. Estimate was for 1.47 billion. Wealth management net rev came in better than expectations of 6.65 billion. Estimate was for 6.4 billion. Non-interest expenses came in at 10.8 billion. The estimate was for 10.17 billion. If you could throw up a chart of Goldman Sachs, they reported earnings this morning, and that stock was moving around a lot this morning. EPS for them came in at, or GAAP EPS, I should say, came in at 548. Estimate was for 343. Sales came in at 11.32 billion, beat 9.86 or 85 billion per the estimate. Looking on Benzinga Pro, looking underneath the surface, Q4 global banking and markets revenue, 6.35 billion, down 3% year over year. Asset and wealth management revenue, 4.39 billion. That's up 23% year over year. And platform solutions revenue, 577 million. That's up 12% year over year. And Q4 provision for credit losses, 577 million versus 972 million year over year and 7 million in Q3. So basically what's going on with these bank earnings, they are a mixed reaction. We're not seeing that they did very good. We're not seeing that they did very bad. We're in the middle of this cycle. And even yesterday, Goldman Sachs updated their GDP for Q4 and for this year. They are expecting 2.3 to 2.4, better than 2.1. We also know yesterday that they put out a note saying, quote, our cross-asset model suggests that fiscal expansion that leads to a 100 basis point increase in GDP growth over the next year with no offsetting monetary policy response would boost U.S. equities by about 7%, U.S. 10-year yields of around 30 basis points, and imply a slightly weaker dollar with weakness against cyclical and commodity currencies balanced by some strength against some other reserve currencies. So basically what we're seeing is inflation's coming down. We're seeing more of these Fed officials saying we may have to slow with rate cuts. We may have to start cutting sooner. And we're seeing equities back around 4,700, back around 4,800. It's just a matter of time of how earnings do this season. Earnings so far are mixed. We start to get in the heart of earnings season this week, leading into next week, into the month end when we get Apple, Tesla, Netflix, Google, Microsoft, all the big tech, and the Magnificent Seven. We will see how the Magnificent Seven do, because that's what actually led the market last year. We'll see if they can continue leading into 2024.
Yeah, this earnings is going to be an important season here. 13, we've been talking about the banks and the broader market. Any of this news change your outlook or factor into how you're preparing to trade that at all?
No, I think Nick hit it on the head. This is pretty mixed, and we're going to have to just wait and see what how the rest of the week plays out. We were talking last week about, pay attention to what the bank earnings are going to be with the big ones like JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citi, and Wells Fargo. And one of the things I was looking at was the provision for credit losses. So it's interesting that Goldman Sachs is apparently down, while some of those other banks were raising theirs. So yeah, like I said, mixed reaction. Need more data.
All right. So we'll see. We'll see where these end up going here. I like I said, I am definitely preparing for this earnings season here. Have no trades on for the earnings season, but I do really think it's going to be important. Really quickly, as Cleo finishes his morning song here, a couple more movers that we should be aware of here. DWAC moving. This should be on the this is of course Truth Social here. This is Trump and the Iowa caucuses that was going on over the weekend here. So DWAC up. It also looks like PHUN is up. This is Funware. This is a penny stock. Becca saying my favorite. Yeah, I definitely don't trade Funware here, but for all you penny players, this is gearing here too.
I was going to say, Ryan, if I could just jump in here, Goldman Sachs had a note out this morning at 2:31 this morning, basically saying, as expected, former President Trump won the Iowa caucus by a wide margin. The results were very close to recent polling, which reduces the odds of a momentum-driven surprise in the New Hampshire primary next week. So that's January 23rd. And they put out a graph saying no eventual winners of recent nominations have had odds as low as Haley or DeSantis at this stage. We also know last night that Vivek Ramaswamy suspended his campaign as an endorsing Donald Trump. So we are seeing these candidates that couldn't do well in the polls drop out and endorse him. We also know Marco Rubio endorsed him over the weekend. So a lot of these former governors, former politicians that were in the race are suspending their campaign. They can't put up the fight at this point. They are going to start endorsing Donald Trump. We've seen that from last night. Vivek Ramaswamy tried to hang in there. He just had to drop out just because he's just not getting the support. And so who's next? Is Haley going to be gone? Is Trump? We know Trump's not going to be gone, but who is going to be facing Donald Trump in the primaries or in the election in 24? We suspect it's Joe Biden. Anything is possible, but these primaries really do give a look at who people are supporting. We know that they're not supporting Nikki Haley that much. We know that they're not supporting Vivek Ramaswamy, given he's dropped out.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the only takeaway that I have from this is so far no surprises yet. Right.
Yes,
I mean, we're so far out of this thing. There's going to be a lot of movement. In fact, as far as trading goes, there's actually going to be a lot of stuff that we should be able to capture between now and November. But so far, my only takeaway here, nothing really shocking yet. If that changes, we'll take a look at that. We'll see how that assesses the market, or we'll assess how that affects the market. One thing to note here, DWAC moving around here today. So if that kind of fits your trading criteria, we'll go ahead and take a look at that as well. Okay.
DWAC and Fund tend to move together. I've noticed. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, keep those two on your radar together.
Absolutely. So DWAC, I would say probably the primary driver there. Fund, the other lower priced penny stock that you can play a similar type of movement on that. Okay, do you guys have anything else that you want to take a look at? We got about 3 minutes here till the market opens. We seem pretty prepared for this market. I will take this time to mention the stream is sponsored by Trade the Pool. If you want to be an active trader in these markets and you're having trouble getting over that 25K pattern day trading, or you just need a little bit more help with your account, definitely check out Trade the Pool. Huge pool of stocks to trade, including DWAC. By the way, let me see if I actually have a. Oh, that was my fault, guys. Let me go ahead and
Morning,
add
Richard.
this.
One thing I'll say is, since we're on this subject of elections, with Taiwan having their election recently, going to be watching to see what happens with China for geopolitical tensions. We are getting some economic news this evening out of China, so it'd be interesting to see what they say. I believe it's GDP, retail sales, manufacturing, things of that nature. So this is something I'm going to be watching.
Producer, if you have a 3-spot camera for the Trade the Pool, that would be awesome. If not, no big deal. We'll go ahead and get back into that. Remember, Trade the Pool gives you up to 260K buying power, so be sure to check them out. We're really appreciative of them, and we love that they hang out here in the chat. One of the best parts about it. So, okay. Enough of the formalities. The market is getting ready to open. I'll keep the scanner open here. As soon as we target a trade, I will go ahead and bring up the Trade the Pool broker to actually go through those executions, and we'll see what we can find here. Good luck today, everybody. Whoa, what happened? Oh, producers helping me out. Good luck today, everybody. And listen to my man, Stay Focused here. Coming in to smash the like, but stay focused today. Stay focused. Really appreciate that. Good advice for everyone in here. All right, let's go ahead and get it, folks. Let me get my other windows up here. We are opening 15 seconds here. You're ready. You're ready, 13. I can hear it. You're ready to go. Let's go. In fact, I'm going to get ELAB up here really quick so we can watch that out of the open. See what ELAB does. Maybe we break down here. We are open.
Okay, here we go. Looks like ELAB's getting some volume. Not really a direction yet, though.
I see some size there coming in on ELAB as well.
Mm-hmm.
Bets hanging out right around 430, so that's not moving yet either on bets.
I'm going to see if I can identify some levels here for ELAB.
Yeah, ELAB, I'm waiting for that to kind of shake out some of the weakness. NVAX, by the way, pulling back a little bit on NVAX. Let's take a look at LEAS. LEAS curling back up to the VWAP here. So let me go ahead and see if I can get you this one. No. Here we go. Nick, I'll get you back here in a sec. Here is LEAS. So really like that this is kind of coming back here to the VWAP. Might even actually take a stab at some of this. Stop under low of day. So I'm going to go ahead and enter here. 262 entry. We're going to see here stop right under low of day at 254 on LEAS. I want to see a move back to the VWAP and then maybe taking it off. Long LAES here out of the open.
I think ELAB might be getting some support here around the 340 area. I'm gonna just wait and see. I might take a stab at this. Just waiting to see if it reverses or not.
Okay. Oh, look at producer Alyssa giving us the hookup. Thank you very much. That is awesome. So here we go. Nick, you are back in the fold. We are long LAES stop. Just a couple of ticks under at 254. 13 could what was it? Which tick are you trading again? I'm gonna pull it
ELAB.
up. ELAB. Oh, I did that. I don't have in. That's right. That's why we did this to begin with. I just go like this. Bang. Look at this. There we go. I think if I do. Nope. See, I'm out here just playing around.
Looks like ELAB might be getting some buyers at this level. I'm gonna start to ease in here. 325.
Okay.
That was literally like musical cameras.
I know. I'm trying so hard. I got to have these things labeled. I'm losing which one I should be moving back and forth to. But appreciate it, producer Alyssa. At least we can laugh about things. Okay, what are we seeing here on ELAB?
Well, I'm seeing that level hold up. Just going to set some stops just so I don't lose on this. Doing good so far.
LAES, by the way, looks like it attempted to go back to VWAP. Looks like it got about a penny shy, 2 pennies shy on LAES. So we'll see if that's still in here.
There we go. I just got a little bit on that pop. I'm going to ease out of this one if we get to the 350s. That would be a nice 25-cent take on that one. Oh, we're getting above it now.
Okay, so nice trade there on ELAB 13. We'll see if we can get above 361 here.
Yeah, there's a pretty big size at 370. So, if I get completely out by there, I'll be okay. Got my stops at 340. Oh, we got some big size that just came in at 346. So that's helpful. This thing can go all the way back to 4 if we get the volume.
Sure can.
And how is everybody's morning going?
It lost that 346 right there. Let's see if it bounces right here.
I got stopped out there, so got one trade in for the day.
Okay, and I'll switch back over to LAES. Still in there, have not been stopped out on that one. That one is trying to go a little higher here. Let's watch on ELAB just to see what happens around this VWAP.
Yeah, it's hanging in there, so it looks good so far.
You know what I like, 13, is that little pull right off that 360 spot that stopped you out. It didn't keep breaking down. Buyers bought it right back into the area. So to me, I feel like this could pretty much go higher here as long as this builds. We'll see what happens right around that VWAP. I've got it at 360 here in my broker. I know it says 363 there on my trading view chart. Might be a little bit of an area there if we can get back above 350. Here's your 350 coming.
Yeah, there's a pretty good bid down there at 339, and I think that's helping entice buyers into this. So it's going up. It's looking pretty good.
Yeah, it looks like it tried to go to that 360 there. We'll see if it can get back above that 360 here on ELAB. Pop right through. Big move through on ELAB. Way to go. Okay, I'm going to go back here real quick because it looks like, man, fast and furious here. Let's go. I like this. Let me go back to this.
And now it's coming down.
So LAES here, we are moving. We did go through the VWAP here on LAES. Now, I'd really like for this to actually push higher here on LAES, but at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the stop up so that we can't possibly go red on this. We'll see if this comes back in. I'd like to see this kind of push off. We did go a little bit small here. Good move on ELAB out of the gate, 13. Let's go. And we'll see what LAES can do here. So good start. Good start to the day. Green on the screen. 2 trades right away out of the gate here.
Looking for ELAB to get support here from the VWAP. So far it's working out, but we still have that big bid order at 339. So I think it's gonna work out if I can start to build a position here down at that level.
Okay.
And if that doesn't work out, if I start to see that size get eaten up, I'll probably just exit.
Okay, and looks like I was stopped out of LAES here, so it looks like that popped through the VWAP and came back, was unable to really get some juice. We'll keep this on the radar here, but at least we didn't take a loss on it. Man, buddy, you did miss me, didn't you? You cannot go anywhere that I am not since I've been back home. Okay, really quick, let's run through a couple of things here. Crow, taking a look at another one from our list here. This is RVSN. Crow said RVSN going to take 2. Guess what? Looks like 2's taken here. Little bit of distance here from the VWAP. If this keeps going here, I think a move back to the VWAP can be pretty good here. RVSN, good call here on Crow. How's DWAC doing, by the way? I don't see it on the scanner. I see a couple of people talking about it here in chat. DWAC pushing higher, looking for a 20 print on DWAC. Jonathan, nice job on that one here. Let me see if I can show you. I'm pretty sure DWAC is in Trade the Pool.
I may just close my position in ELAB here. It's getting a bit spready.
Here is your DWAC real quick. Let me go back to RVSN. I didn't realize you were still in ELAB. Let me go back to that real quick.
I said I was going to get back into it since it was coming down to VWAP. So I started building a position, and now it's starting to look it was looking a little spready there for a minute. It's looking okay now, but it was making me nervous. So I just said, maybe I'll just sit on the sidelines and just look at something else. RSVN, I'm looking to see if we can continue to punch up. It's looking pretty good right now, but there's a big order at 205 that needs to get through first. Yep,
I'm going to actually take some there. Took some at 204. Looks like I got filled at 204. We'll see if RVSN can go through that spot here. Looks like they're hitting it. They brought a bid in here at 202. I like to see that.
Okay, so now that
they're hitting that at 205.
That 339 area for ELAB got attacked, but it's providing some support. So it's looking to see if we can continue with it from here.
Oh my God, RVSN. So on my chart here on Trade the Pool, let me go back here real quick. Let me remove this. Boom. So look at this. My Trade the Pool software has a candle, a bounce candle drawn up to what is this 230. Now I don't know if it actually got up there. Crow, great call here, RVSN. This definitely looks like it's building off the bottom here, so we long here, RVSN. Let's see if we can get a close back to the VWAP. Would absolutely love that.
What do you guys make of Tesla? I want to hit this because Tesla is smacking their low or hammering lows right now, down about 2.75%. We learned yesterday, Musk tweeting, quote, "I'm uncomfortable growing Tesla to be a leader in AI and robotics without having around 25% voting control, enough to be influential, but not so much that I can't be overturned." He goes on to say, "You don't seem to understand that Tesla is not one startup, but it doesn't. Simply look at the delta between Tesla, what Tesla does in GM." What do you guys make of this news? And Dan Ives commented this morning, basically saying at the end of the day, we believe the board and Musk will be able to resolve this 25% issue over the next 3 to 6 months. And ultimately, all AI initiatives will be kept within Tesla. I mean, how do you position yourselves to Tesla as it's hammering lows right now?
Okay, so this is actually a really interesting question. I'll take a stab at this first 13 here.
Sure.
Are you banking on ELAB or something? No.
No, I'm not trading that right now. I'm just going to respond when it's my turn.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll start here real quick. This is and actually, well, RVSN is working here. We do have a stop set. This pushing above 310 again. We want this to get up towards the VWAP around 320. RVSN working so far. While it's doing that, let me bring up Tesla here, and we'll talk about that. Nick, a couple of things. Number one, Tesla has been pounding the lows recently. There are a number of traders in here that trade this back and forth every day. So that's one thing you consider. Here's what I'll say about Tesla. Clearly, the EV craze is not really a craze. It is not as desirable as people are making it out to be, even with the pushing. Now, that being said, Tesla more than a car company here. Now, as this pertains to your AI angle here, I think this is smart on Elon. I think Elon recognizes some of the problems here with AI and doesn't necessarily want something that he's responsible for creating to get too far out of his control. Now, what I will say is that Elon probably sees further down the line into the future on what AI can do, both good and bad, more so than I do. So I understand where he's coming from. I'm not necessarily sure how that impacts the stock price. I think the stock price is going to do what it's going to do. There are people that believe this is an EV car company. There are people that believe this is a tech company. AI is coming in to change this. AI is going to play a huge role at Tesla. I don't see that necessarily affecting the stock price.
Yeah, I think that we're probably going to bounce soon, somewhere between here and 200 handle, because this is getting to be very, very low on the RSI, so that indicates some overselling. And that's, just from a technical measurement perspective, I think that's a good area for some dip buyers to come in. So I anticipate that we bounce at some point pretty soon, probably sometime this week.
By the way, stopped out of RVSN there, so we didn't actually get that pushback to the VWAP. A little shame there, but that's all right. We'll keep that on radar. I don't think this is done yet, RVSN. Speaking of Tesla, which we just talked about, that move to the VWAP here, and we're pulling back. Sorry, 13.
No, it's okay. ELAB's about to, it looks like it's trying to make a move to 4.
So ELAB, look what it did. This is the interesting part here. Let me go ahead and get this in here. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Here's the interesting part here. Definitely played with that VWAP as resistance for several minutes, but then ended up breaking through there. Now you're starting to see the volume expand here. Mm-hmm. What was your next target here on ELAB? I've got 410.
I'm looking at 4. Just the psychological level, and then
okay.
After that, I
the
got
round number at
420.
4. I got you.
Yeah, I think that between 4 and 420, you're going to get into a pretty decent supply zone. So we might see some
440. I think I've got some other resistance at as well on ELAB. ELAB, this is a nice mover here. Big volume stick, biggest of the day. This is exactly what we want to see out of ELAB.
Here we go. It's got some big sell orders coming in at around 385. Let's see if those get punched through. Maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. It's a fight, folks. It's a fight.
Ballroom Blitz. You remember that song by Sweet?
Ballroom.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm old enough.
That is as soon as you mentioned that is the first thing that I thought of there. All right, folks, don't forget to stick around. It is 9:43 right now, but don't forget to stick around to see Jerry. We're going to be talking about taxes and how they pertain to traders. We're going to bring Zunaid on, so please don't forget to stick around. That is, of course, Jerry from Traders Accounting, coming up in just about 17 minutes. In the meantime, we are going to try and extract as much money as we can here. Elab, good spot here, 13 on Elab early. I don't see anything else really kind of getting going. I guess I'll take a look around the scanner here for the group. Take a look at DWAC. Did we get our 20 prints? No, looks like we got rejected shy of 20, now breaking beneath the VWAP on DWAC.
Yeah, I'm not writing off our VSN yet. It's got to break down beneath 180 for me to think it's going to be done for a while or for the day. But yeah, ELAB is looking pretty good.
Yeah, didn't get my early move on RVSN, but you're absolutely right, 13. One of the things that we've been discussing recently is, you might not get that move early on, but keep it on your radar, especially here in RVSN. We have not broken back down on any of that. So ELAB, the first one to work here, RVSN, not quite done yet. By the way, LAES looks like that's not quite done yet either. We are trying to bounce off those pre-market lows, but we're not breaking down yet. Let's see if any buying volume gets in there.
Just looking to see if ELAB's going to be able to make this push. It's got some good support at 370 from a nice size order there, but if that gets chunked away, then it's probably going to go back down to 360. Looking good so far, though. Still thinking 4.
Jay mentioning bonds and the dollar. These are risk off moves going on right now. We are seeing the market kind of come back in. Remember, I talked about SPY being weak, looking like it tried to buy back up to balance. Well, since the market is open, it is weakness across the board. SPY, Dow Jones, NASDAQ as well. How's the IWM doing? I actually don't have a chart for that up on my screen. IWM leading the way down here, it looks like at 1.5%.
Yeah,
I was going to say 10-year back above 4%. Yep. So that's a key level to watch.
Yeah, ELAB getting that 360 area attack that I was just mentioning, and now we're through it. Got some more support at around the 350 area. We're testing VWAP as well, so there could be a bounce here, but I'm not in this one at the moment. So just watching to see if we get that support.
My broker has VWAP here at 361 on ELAB. We came right into that, and it looks like we stayed there. Now we've broken beneath it. We'll see if that gets reclaimed here on ELAB.
Guys, I was just going to say UBS, this note literally just crossing the wires, my desk here just moments ago. They're increasing their S&P 500 target to 5150 this year. Back on December 11th, they published a piece saying 4850 by year end, but they not only raised the S&P target for year end to 5150, they also increased 2024 EPS from 225 to 235. They say that increasing estimates from, and they even go further from 24-25, they go from 225 to 235. And for 2025, they go from 246 to 250. They think, importantly, growth estimates of 6.3 and 6.4 over the next 2 years are below the consensus of 11.4, 12.8. They think earnings should drive 2024 returns. Falling interest rates should support incrementally higher multiples. So they go from 48.50 to now 51.50. That's about a 7.71% change.
Okay, so they're revising it up. NVIDIA on that news, plus 1.5% here. NVIDIA pounding the highs, all of these new all-time highs here on NVIDIA. Looks like it set one here this morning. What do you think about that? What do you think about that note, 13?
50. Sorry, what was it? 550 for the SPY target this year.
Yes, 5150. They were at 40.
S&P cash.
S&P, sorry, 5150. Yeah. So I mean, I still think that we need to take a good hit in the market, but that's why we have a market. We have one side believing that we're going to make these new all-time highs. We have another side thinking we're going to get absolutely hit. Same thing with these rate predictions. We still have a bunch of people thinking that we're getting rate cuts in March. I really can't say where we're going as of yet, but I think the people that are betting on a rate cut in March are going to be really disappointed.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too. But we'll see. Market Sniper mentioning CCC here. This is Quad C. Sorry, CCCC. That's Quad C here. Looks like this might be curling off the blow print here, right back at VWAB. Market Sniper also mentioning ELEV. We traded this last week. ELEV here. This taking the second leg up out of that consolidation right through the round number at 3. There's a nice little push off the VWAP early as well.
Nexi that we traded before had a pretty volatile opening, but it's since dropped in volume activity since then. But it's going to be on my radar just to see if we get those moves again. This thing's run before, and now it's above $10, which took a while to get above and stay above, but now we're above it.
It's going to roll through the scanner here. Fun looks like the PHUN looks like this is trying to go higher here. I'm just going to straight pass on that. MSOX looks like ticker MSOX here. This is the MSOX 2X daily ETF. Looks like this is trying to move higher as well.
RSVN, I'd really like to see it get back above the 65 EMA that I have here at 214.
RVSN, I think you meant.
That's what I'm sorry. Yes,
yeah.
RVSN. You're right. I'm not dyslexic, I promise.
Yeah, we have a workday going on.
Apparently,
RVSN, the fact that this didn't break down bodes well for RVSN. Nick, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to run you over.
No, I was going to say, how do you position yourself for the Magnificent Seven, or as we roll into earnings, especially for Apple? Is Apple actually going to be able to hit the bar? Because we learned yesterday that with the consumer and with the watches, if you kind of redesign or repatent it, it's going to be okay. Is Apple going to be able to hit the bar? Because we know in China they are discounting iPhones. We also know here in the US, I have an iPhone 13 Pro Max. It's about, 2 years old. Do we upgrade every year? How do you position yourself for Apple? Do you actually get new devices every year, every 2 years? Is the stock going to be able to sustain earnings? Is China doing everything it can to get the iPads, get the watches, get the Macs, everything out? Do you think Apple beats the bar? Is the bar set too high, too low? How do you kind of go through the Magnificent Seven as we head into earnings and in through the first 6 months of the year?
Okay, so real quickly, as it pertains to Apple, this one is going to be unique for me. So I'll start with this. By the way, ELAB looks like it's trying to take off the high end of that range there. So awesome spot on that 13 and anyone else that traded that. Nick, to your question here on Apple, how do I position myself? This one's easy. I've been positioned in Apple for so long that no change, right? Just I simply hold here. Now, am I going to take any new position around the earnings print? No, there's too much uncertainty around this earnings print. You just outlined a lot of that. The watch obviously has a legal dispute here. All the issues with China. You're asking about the Apple iPhone. Can't help you there. Use Samsung. For me, the pairs trade here, own Apple stock, use Samsung phones. That has not steered me wrong yet. So I've kept doing it here. My Apple position, long-term investor, cost-adjusted basis, now $20. Hold, right? Straight up hold on that. As for new trades here, I don't feel confident in either direction. I'd probably pass on this. The one thing that I will say here is that every time that Apple looks like it's got everything lined up against it, somehow it magically beats and trades higher here. So just kind of be careful on that one. Jay Rice offering his opinion here. Apple 3/4 of year-over-year revenue growth of going down at 30x. Don't see anything good. This is the consensus here. I wouldn't be shocked if they surprised, though. Like I said, no new position, hold on the long term.
I sold Apple last year, late last year, because I felt it had run quite a bit on that, the AI news. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they're really well positioned for AI yet. I think they're the laggard in that space, whereas NVIDIA, Microsoft, and others are doing really well. They also have their newest product, which is a competitor for Meta's headset. I really am not seeing the overall appeal. I think there's some people that will like it, but I don't see it being a game changer at all or yet. The thing about Apple is, as you guys have already pointed out, there's some pretty significant headwinds for them. And I think when it comes to the Mag 7, you're going to want to look at each of those stocks' individual sector or individual environment, and just kind of get an understanding of what's competing with it right now. And right now, Microsoft, I think, is the big powerhouse. We just had it overtaking Apple as the big market cap winner, but I think because of how many different things that they're in and how well they're doing it, video games, internet security, OS software, and AI now. There's a bunch of others that I'm not even mentioning, but I think that they're in a really good spot. I think Netflix is also in a really good spot relative to the other streamers. I think they're doing great with their content, and they don't have a lot of this baggage that some of these other brands like Disney and Warner Brothers is dealing with. So it's that kind of aspect I'm looking at. Look at what their competitors are doing and how they're performing, and I think when you compare those, you'll get a better idea of which ones are going to be good to buy or stay in, and which ones you probably should not be in. And Apple's not one I want to be in.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything new here ahead of this print that's having me go one way or another. Jay,
how do you position yourself for a $3,400 headset, Apple VR, or $3,500?
Look, I'll say this about the headset. That stuff has not won me over yet. I don't see the appeal. I mean, I would rather spend $3,500 on a MacBook Pro than a headset, right? I'm going to get way more mileage and actual function out of that device than I would out of the headset. So that I feel like my own bias is creeping in when you guys start asking me about the headset. I just,
And Meta's headset is like 10% the price that Apple's is. So it's like, why would you even go that unless you're, a very big Apple fan and you would just like to give the company your money? I don't see the appeal of their headset. Maybe
that's why you own the stock, because there are plenty of people out there that literally love to throw their money at Apple. So if you own the stock, you can see some of that. That's part of the thesis there. Joe breaking it down live on stream here. Real quick, Bet's trying to regain back towards its VWAP here. LAES, Jay was mentioning that one earlier. Jay Wild, I beg your pardon here. That was bouncing and curling and trying to go back towards its VWAP. ELAB has not broken down. In fact, ELAB is making higher lows. So 13 here. I think your thesis here is going to be spot on. We've had a little bit of these trades. We've had a few smaller trades early on here. Maybe the bigger move happens a little bit here in the afternoon. Again, 5 more minutes here. Hang out for my man Zunaid. We're going to get Jerry from Traders Accounting on here. We're going to talk about different ways that you can, I think, probably save money from doing your taxes from the background or perspective of a trader.
I would say that watching what Zunaid's going to be interviewing next is important, especially if you do like to keep as much money as you can when you make it. And I will say that understanding taxes and how long-term investments and trading are taxed really helps me decide what I want to be in for the long term and what I want to trade. So definitely stick around for Zunaid's interview. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I'll say some of these things are afterthoughts, especially if you're a newer end of the trading spectrum here. Real good stuff. I've seen several presentations like this. I learned something every single time. So really, really excited for that.
Wisdom, that's why your name is Wisdom.
Wisdom saying I literally pay 0 taxes. It makes a difference. The guy named Wisdom is saying that he pays 0 in taxes. How about that? We'll take that.
He earned his name a long time ago.
We'll take that. All right, looking around the market here, looks like maybe the SPY is kind of finding a bottom and trading up off the bottom. NASDAQ doing the same thing. The Dow has slowed down here. We'll see if that's it for the sell-off or if we do take another leg down in the afternoon. I'm encouraged by some of the smaller stocks that we've taken a look at here. Again, ELAB, one of them. This actually might still go here. I'm trying hard not to look at DWAC and PHUN, but we'll see if those end up going here as well. LAES now back to the VWAP. Remember, this is where we were rejected the first time. Let's see if we can actually take this out, build above, and move towards that 280 level. 3 and 304 going to be some of the spots that I see there on LAES if it really gets going here.
Also, it's the week of the Davos, Switzerland, the World Economic Forum. We have ECB leaders over there. We have Zelensky for stronger sanctions against Putin. Remember, just watch AI, global politics, economic trends all week in Davos. I think it's snowy and cold there as well. So we have a lot of leaders speaking out. We have Fed officials continuing to speak out regarding rate cuts and what could potentially happen. But also it's important to remember that not every Fed member votes. So you have to have a list ready to go saying who votes, who doesn't vote. We try and emphasize that here at Benzinga. Not every Fed member is a voting member, so you kind of have to take their comments with a grain of salt. But again, we're still continuing this craze of AI, what's going on in the world today. Putin, we still got him. We got Taiwan. We got China. Inflation. We have politics here in the U.S. So much to keep an eye on that 2024, I don't think has really started yet, has really ramped up.
Oh, absolutely not.
And
Yeah,
I was going to say,
I
we're
agree.
16 days into the year. We got a lot of headway here in an election
Yes.
year in 2024. There's going to be a lot of crazy stuff going on. That is for sure.
Especially with the Middle East conflict getting wider and wider now that we're starting to attack rebels in Yemen. I think we're just going to continue to escalate, and things are going to get pricey.
Okay. Real quick, before I bring my man Zunaid on here, remember this stream is sponsored by Trade the Pool. I apologize for the truncated stream here today. We will be back tomorrow with another session. Zunaid, Lone Cannon, get Zunaid out here. How you doing, Zunaid?
Good, man. I feel like I need a bat signal just for myself. Oop, we got a...
I mean, you got it looks like you got a little bit of a silhouette there being formed by your window. Okay, Zunaid, I'm going to go ahead and drop everything off here.
Yeah.
Tell our audience about what they can expect to hear here. I did a good job hyping it, but not as good of a job that you're going to do. Tell our folks here what they can expect and take it away.
Absolutely, will do, and appreciate 13U and Nick for holding it down. So I personally talked to Jerry many times right before I set up my LLC for trading, especially because, you know, life's complicated. You got some rules and laws you got to follow, and Jerry and his team were tremendous at making sure that I was set up for success and saving money in terms of taxes the legal way. So Jerry's going to hop on here for about an hour and kind of walk you through how you can go ahead and set things up and kind of talk about what it's like to pay taxes as a trader and the different nuances that you may not know about, whether it's trader tax status and different things like that as well. So let me go ahead and bring my man Jerry on. How's it going, Jerry?
Good morning, Zunaid. How are you?
I am doing well. And, you know, of course, one thing I forgot to mention, you're obviously CPA certified as well. So this isn't just kind of randomly looking up at a YouTube video and hoping that what they're saying is correct. I know you've got many years of experience. But before I kind of leave it to you to kind of get into the nitty gritty, if you'd like, you can share your presentation. It's on the bottom there. So whenever you're ready to go, you can just let me know. But chat, this is going to be like an hour long, right? So feel free to kind of ask questions. Obviously, we want to make sure that the questions are not maybe so specific to the audience that, you know, it's beneficial for everybody. But feel free to kind of fire things away. And Jerry, if you wanted to present it, you'll hit present on the bottom.
There we go.
There
Thank you.
It's all right. No worries. You'll hit present on the bottom, and then you can share a tab, a window, or a screen, and then you will be good to go. I did look into, what is it, going to Puerto Rico, I think it was.
Yes.
But then I was like, you know what, buddy, you don't make that much money in trading, so why don't you calm down? So then I didn't do that.
No.
But Jerry, anything for me, ma'am, before I leave it to you?
No, not at the moment. Can you see my presentation?
I sure
slide?
can. I'm going to go ahead and throw it up here. I will be in the background, so you have anything for me, man, just go ahead and holler. Chat, it's good to see you always. Take care.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it, Zunaid. And hello, good morning, everybody. I'm glad to be here with you all. This is kind of an exciting time of year. I know some of you aren't excited, but we are going into tax season. And so this is a great time to be thinking about a lot of this right now. So what we're going to be talking about, the title of my presentation, of course, is Trading in 2024. But we're also going to be looking a little bit back at 2023 because there's still a couple things that you can do. And the previous presenters mentioned that it's a good idea to think about taxes, and it really is. You have a trading strategy, and your trading strategy dictates how you're going to do things. Well, you need to link a tax strategy to that as well. And so I'm going to be talking about some of the things that you can do today. Hopefully it'll save you some money. It may save you some effort, not just effort, but angst maybe with the IRS as well. I will tell you that everything I'm presenting here today is based upon U.S. tax law. So there is nothing about Canadian or Mexican or any other country, their tax laws. This is purely U.S. tax law. So if you're in one of those other countries, you need to talk to an advisor there. Okay, before we get started, we need to make the lawyers happy. So let me state this: to the best of our knowledge, the information given in this presentation is accurate as of the presentation date. So we do go through this constantly to make sure the information that we're giving you is up to date. Matter of fact, there haven't been any major changes in the tax law recently, but I have seen some murmurings in Congress about changing some things. So we want to keep an eye on that. So as tax changes do happen constantly, you may say, well, Congress hasn't changed anything. But what has happened is the IRS does have some discretion on some things, how you elect certain elections or how you do things. And so those changes can make a significant difference in timing on whether you get an election or you can get a credit or whatever. So make sure that before you use this information, you talk to a tax advisor. This presentation does not establish a professional or confidential relationship between you, me, or Traders Accounting. And Traders Accounting is not a law firm, so nothing here is legal advice. We give tax advice, but we do not give legal advice, so be aware of that. And then one other thing before we get going into the actual presentation is I want to give you our contact information. And I will return to this at the end of the presentation as well in case you miss it. But our website there, we have a special link just for the viewers today. It's www.tradersaccounting.com/Benzinga. So tradersaccounting.com/Benzinga. And at that special link, we have an ebook that you can download that has a lot of the information that I'm talking about today. And also, it goes a little bit further into some things, but it's free. There's no obligation whatsoever. You can type that into your browser right now and go ahead and download that ebook. Our phone number is 800-938-9513. If you want to give us a call, we are a full-fledged accounting service, tax service, and consulting service for traders like yourself. So if you want a consulting session to find out what's best for you, then feel free to give us a call and we can set up that consulting session. Our email also is learn@tradersaccounting.com if you'd rather contact us that way. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the presentation here. And I want to talk to you about basic information here. Now, I used to be, a few years ago, a college professor, and I was teaching, business because I've got a degree in business administration. I would teach business. And so I always start with a business 101 class for traders. And the reason for that, if you read through the IRS code and you want to do anything serious with taxes and trading, then you have to treat it like a business. It needs to be your mindset. And so that's why I start off a little bit with this, and I will bring it in later on. But if you're serious about trading, you've got to treat it like a business. You're going to all these lengths to get money in. You're going to have your gains from your trading that you're seeking to get, and you're focusing on getting that revenue in, if you will. Think about it as a business. Well, you need the flip side there. You've got to think about costs as well. In other words, one main point under here is be concerned about your cash flow. Traders get focused on getting trades in, on their getting the gains in, and that's fine. You have to do that. I mean, that's your income there. But they tend to ignore the expenses going out. They ignore things that the money going out, and one of those things can be taxes that can seriously hurt you. I've seen people who've lost money in accounts end up paying taxes on that account in a year because they did not understand what was going on. So this is an extremely important concept. So you have to not only be concerned about the money coming in, you really need to be concerned about the money going out. So you need to develop a plan. Just like trading, you need to develop a plan about what you're doing, and hopefully this presentation today will take care of that plan. Also, And this is a point that I need to stress, because business owners of any type, doesn't matter if it's trading or not, do not seem to get this. It's you need to make financial decisions based on your business needs, not on the tax codes. I have watched people over the years come to the end of the year and say, hey, you know, I made some money last year. I need to go out and buy this piece of equipment because I need the tax break. And so in the end, they start thinking about tax breaks rather than about running their business. And it almost never works out well. The general rule is if your business needs something, go get it. I mean, that's not a problem. And then use that as a tax break. But it's the first thing is making sure the business needs it, or your trading business needs it, and so they can use it. In other words, it's going to pay for itself in the long run. But don't base things on the tax code. That will mess you over every time for a couple of reasons. One, let me give you an example. I had a automobile repair mechanic many years ago, and we came to tax time, and he wanted to buy a $20,000 tire machine for his business. And I said, okay, we can write that off. That'll give you about a $6,000 deduction there. And I asked him then, I said, how often are you going to use that tire machine? He said, probably once or twice a year. And so now I'm starting to think, okay, he's using this thing once or twice a year. It's never really going to pay for itself. He gets the $6,000 tax deduction, but he's going to end up, if you take the 20,000 minus the 6,000, he's going to end up losing $14,000. And that has to recoup itself in business over time. And he's never going to do it. So I advised him not to do it. So that's one thing. A second thing, as a trader, trading is psychological. And this is a warning that I really need to give you, is I have watched some of our clients do this over and over again. They trade, and then they get focused on taxes. And once they get their view off of trading and onto taxes, and they change their trading because of the tax situation, they screw everything up. So what you need to do is set down a plan and make sure that plan is solid. You talk to somebody about it, let it run, and you don't think about it until the end of the year. Or you put some automatic checks into place, maybe once a quarter. So maybe you can make estimated tax payments, but you don't think about the taxes while you're trading. It's very dangerous to do that. So what we want to do is be aware of all our tax and protection options. And that's what this presentation is going to go into today. So the topics that we're going to talk about are: one, trader tax status. Now, this is available for all traders. It doesn't matter whether you're trading Forex, if you're trading stocks, if you're trading crypto, you're trading futures, what it is, it doesn't matter. This is available for everybody. And this is the one thing that we can go back into 2023 and talk about. Also, we're going to talk about entities. You may have heard that it could be beneficial to set up an entity like an LLC for trading. We will talk about the possible benefits, what we generally recommend, and how it can help. And we'll also talk about, good things, bad things. I want to make sure that we get a full picture here. But basically, we are scratching the surface here in this 1 hour. So I want to make sure that you understand that. And then finally, we're going to talk about the mark-to-market election. This is only for stock and options traders, and this is going forward. You cannot go back to this one in prior years unless you've already elected it. So we will get into that for the stock and options traders at the end. And then I got a wrap-up slide on things to watch out for, because there's some topics that have come up recently that I want you to be aware of and kind of pay attention to. So let's start off with trader tax status. Trader tax status is a choice. It's not an election. It's not something you have to let the IRS know you're doing. It's just you do it on your tax return. That's it. Now, trader tax status deals with deducting trading expenses. So your trading expenses that you might have in trading, your margin interest, if you have data feeds, if you have subscriptions to software, if you've got, or in a chat room where you have to pay to discuss with people, if you have education or you belong to Benzinga, you got fees there or whatever. that all those are deductible if you meet the criteria, and that can add up to a very sizable deduction. So now, what are the criteria? Well, let me explain first that our go-to manual with the IRS is publication 550. That's publication 550. You can go to the IRS website, type in the search engine, publication 550, and you can download that to your computer. It's PDF format, or if you don't want it on your computer, you can read it in HTML on the IRS website. But publication 550 talks about every type of investing: interest, dividends, original issue discounts, bonds, stocks, options, futures, indirectly cryptocurrency. But I mean, it's got everything. It's 70 something pages long. And so that's our go-to manual for the IRS code. Well, if you read through that, it does not give very good criteria for trader tax status. It says you have to consider it, you have to treat this like a business. Well, that's why I started with the Business 101 thing a little bit ago. You have to live on it, not totally, but in part or in whole. You have to be able to use the proceeds from trading for supporting yourself. And so those are very vague. And so what we have to do is we have to turn to court cases where the IRS has defined TTS very narrowly and used it against the taxpayer, and the taxpayer took it to court. And so what we have coming out of court cases where people have won are some of the following criteria. There are 3 criteria. All 3 need to be met if you're going to deduct your expenses on your tax returns. First of all, you need to have 720 trades or more per year. Now, a trade is buying something, and a separate trade is selling something. So, buy and sell are 2 different trades. So many of you get that maybe in a month easily. But some people, it takes a little while, may not get it in the entire year, but you do have to have those 720 trades per year. Number 2, there is trading at over 75% of the trading days per year. So there's 200 something trading days during the year. And I've calculated that 3/4 of that, you have to be trading 188 or 189 days out of the year in order to qualify for trader tax status. Now, the reason for that, again, you have to show that you are really establishing a business here. Now, think about a different business like a restaurant or a mechanic or something. They're not going to take significant amounts of time off. They're not going to work for a month and then take a month off and then do it again. There needs to be a consistent presence and a consistent business going. Well, the IRS is expecting the same thing out of a trader. So 188, 189 days out of the year, you need to be trading something. It can be one trade, but you have to be doing something. Then the last one is you have to have over 500 hours of trading, research, and education. So the amount of time you spend trading, obviously, researching. A lot of you do research, and that's fine. You spend time watching these webinars that count for that. If you go and watch a YouTube video, if you spend time on a chat room discussing things, all of that counts. So you need to have all 3 of these. Not that you have to prove it to the IRS up front, but if they ever do come in, you can show them this stuff and you could tell them, hey, these are criteria out of court cases, and here's how I met it. Now, how would you prove this? Well, the first 2, the 720 trades and the trading at 75% of the trading days per year, those are going to show on your monthly statements. Every trade is logged on a monthly statement, and you just hand an IRS examiner those statements and say, you figure it out. Let them make their pay. Now, the last one, the 500 hours of trading, research, and education, that one that can't be gotten off your statements. So we advise that you keep some type of a logbook. There's no format for that. You can do it in a spreadsheet. If you're good with databases and want to do it that way, that's fine. If you want to do it on pen and paper, that's fine as well. Just so you can pull out something to show the time that you spent trading during the year. So these are the three criteria. You have to meet all three of these criteria in order to be able to deduct those expenses on your tax return. Now, the tax savings that you have or get from this depend upon your current tax bracket level. So if you're in the 37% tax bracket level, you're going to get 37 cents on every dollar you deduct. So that's advantageous. Now, if you're only in the 22% tax bracket, you're only going to get 22 cents for every dollar you deduct. But it's still worth. I mean, if you're going to spend the money, and this is why I mentioned don't worry about the tax code, because a lot depends upon your tax bracket. If you've got the expense, deduct it. Don't worry about your tax brackets and I'm trying to manipulate all that stuff, because it just doesn't work out well. So your tax savings are going to depend upon your current tax bracket. So now, as with anything, I have to create a warning here, because in the tax system, it's easy to get tripped up. And I spent a lot of time consulting people, traders, on this stuff. And I try to get them to avoid the pitfalls here. And so a lot of my time is done consulting when it's not doing tax returns. So I want to bring these warnings out. And the big warning here is a person deducting trading expenses on their personal return must use a Schedule C. You say, okay, so I'm deducting my margin interest and my data feeds and all that on my Schedule C. What's the big deal about that? Well, Schedule C is a small business return. It's used by people who own small businesses. Some of you may have them on already with some other business you've got going. But we try to avoid Schedule Cs. And this is why. One, the number one thing is your audit risk is increased. Now, I'm not saying it's a red flag, and I'm not saying it's guaranteed to be an audit, but your audit risk does increase as a result of having that Schedule C on there. The reason for that is that Schedule Cs, one, have been abused for decades. People have tried to write off not trading expenses, hobby expenses, other expenses that really weren't deductible. This is kind of a fertile ground for fraud, if you will. Not necessarily that everybody doing it is fraud. It's just fraudulent, but that is a ground for it. And that's the way the IRS looks at it. Number two, the IRS, for most of the stuff you put on your return, the IRS already has those information. It's like your W-2. That goes to the IRS and the Social Security Administration before you ever file your tax return. They know what the numbers are. So when you put your W-2 information on the return, they're just going to check to see if it matches. It's not a question. But the numbers you put on your Schedule C, they have no verification of. And so these numbers are unverified. Therefore, they are more subject to being questioned, particularly if there's something weird showing up there. So Schedule Cs are just kind of, they increase the they increase your audit risk. Sorry, I read the next line on my notes. Number two here, the home office deduction may not be obtainable. Now, some of you may be familiar with this. The home office deduction on a Schedule C, the personal return, has a lot of limitations to it. Now, if you've got a business and you're making another business, you're making tons of money and profit, then there's not a problem. However, if you're close to not making money, or if you're losing money, then this becomes a major problem, and it gets limited and may not be attainable at all. So, keep this one in mind, because I'm going to come back to this one. Number three, there's maybe no asset protection if you trade personally. So if somebody were to sue you for something, they get on your property and get hurt, there's a car accident or something, and the suit goes beyond your policy limits, then that person can start going after your personal assets. And guess where they're going to start? They're going to start with your trading assets right away. So this is where LLCs come into play, or possibly trusts. You can look at that. You need an attorney to advise you on the trusts and that. But you'll get some asset protection. So if you're just trading as an individual, you really don't have any asset protection there. Number four, it's difficult to justify having a W-2 job and being an active trader. We have a lot of clients that have W-2 jobs, and we tell them that the IRS, for whatever reason, and I can't figure out why, they don't like it when you have a full-time job and you're trying to even be a part-time trader. I mean, most of us in life have had 2 jobs, maybe even sometimes 3 and 4 over the course of our lives. It's not a problem. But for whatever reason, the IRS has an issue with that. So these warnings are based upon a personal return. When you trade and you deduct expenses on your personal return, even if you meet the criteria, these 4 things can be happening. And so you have issues, could have issues with the IRS. You could have limitations in the deductions, stuff like that. So what's the answer here? Well, here's the answer, and it's entities. And so some of you have already heard about entities. And there's several different types of entities. First of all, there's a sole proprietorship, and that's what we were talking about, trading as an individual. You don't have an LLC, you don't have any protection, you're just deducting expenses on your Schedule C. That's a sole proprietorship. And there's also a single member LLC, and I'll be honest with you up front, single member LLCs do not do much for a trader. That's it. Puts it right back on that Schedule C again, where we don't want it, because you have all those problems that we just talked about. The only thing a single member LLC does is give you some little bit of asset protection in your state. Then the other types are general partnership, limited partnership, multi-member LLC, partnership, S corporation, LLC, S corporation, C corporation, LLC, C corporation. Now we're going to eliminate most of these and just talk about a handful of them. As I've already mentioned, the sole proprietorship and the single member LLC do not do much for a trader. It puts it right on the Schedule C of your tax return, and where you have increased audit risk. You can't, the home office deduction is more than likely going to be limited, and you've got all kinds of issues there. So which one is right? Well, the type of entity that is right for you depends upon your situation. And so this is why I recommend, before you take this information, always get a consultant or somebody to help you that knows what they're doing, because it is so easy to get tripped up here. Matter of fact, I just mentioned the single member LLC really don't do a whole lot for you. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to individuals who come in and I get them for consulting and they say, well, I set up a single member LLC already. Well, Jack, you need to kind of back up a little bit. And here's why. I explain to them and go into detail. But so before you do anything, talk to somebody and make sure that you understand what you're doing. Now, let me go to where we generally recommend for most people, not everybody, because there are exceptions, and those circumstances, every individual circumstances are different. But what we recommend for most people is a multi-member LLC or an LLC partnership. Now, why is that? Well, I'm going to go through the pros and the cons here. The pros, I think, outweigh the cons. Now, this is a partnership, basically. And I'll talk about partnerships here a little bit and who you can use as partners. Before the pros, though, I want to give you the cons. I'm that type of person. I want to give you both sides of things. I am not going to waste your time by just painting you this rosy picture. And there are businesses out there that do paint rosy pictures. As a matter of fact, we ran into a couple in the last couple of weeks that there are companies out there. They say, well, you need an LLC and a C Corp. And that's going to really just, and it doesn't. There's reasons they paint this rosy picture, and there's problems attached to that. So be very careful, get the pros and the cons on everything before you set anything up. Now, the pros or the cons of this thing, for any LLC, you do have a yearly LLC fee. That's single member or multi-member. In most states, you have a yearly fee. Some states just allow you to pay a one-time fee and get it set up. There are a few states that do that, and you never have to pay again. But most states have a yearly fee. And if you live in a state that doesn't have a yearly fee, great. I wish you the best of luck for that one. And that's great. You should be happy about that. You also have a tax prep fee, because what we're doing here is we're getting this stuff off of your personal tax return onto it. In this case, a partnership tax return. Now, we could also do it on an S Corp return, but we won't talk about that much right now. But you do have an extra tax prep fee. So that could be a few $100s right there. So you do have that extra fee. And because you have to set up new brokerage accounts underneath the EIN of this LLC, you're going to have to set up new brokerage accounts as a business, basically. And so you've got increased broker fees as a result of that. Now, there are a couple ways around that. We've had clients tell us that they keep their personal account alive, if you will, and still trade in the business account, but they use the free stuff like the real-time quotes and that from their personal accounts. Be that as way, you could probably sidestep some of the broker fees that way. But these are the cons right here, a few extra expenses. And I'm going to talk to you in a little bit how to get those and how to get those taken care of. But let's look at the pros here. These are your benefits. Remember, this is a partnership, LLC partnership. First of all, you get the asset protection. So if somebody sues you personally, it doesn't back up into the LLC. So they can't touch your trading assets. And also, generally, you hear about that. Well, if there's a lawsuit in the LLC, that it can't back up to the individual owners. That's true. But for a trader, you have very few lawsuits from trading. So that just doesn't happen. So you do have some asset protection. Number two, and this is one that most people don't realize, is an LLC has a choice in taxation methods. Now, you don't want to change this every year, but you do have a choice. So for example, when we set up a multi-member LLC, you theoretically have a choice to choose between a partnership, an S corporation, and a C corporation. And then a few years down the road, you can change it again. And then a few years down the road, you can change it again. So this gives you flexibility if tax laws change. Now, the reason we're heading towards a partnership first is because it's the easiest thing to deal with. We want it, in our view, we want to get people started trading. We want to get their minds focused on trading. So we want to give them something easy to deal with. And then later on, when there's a profit, when there's a lot of profit, we can then start talking about S corps, which require salaries coming out for the owners. And then we can start talking about 401ks and stuff like that. But we have to establish that base first of income coming in before you add the infrastructure of salaries and 401k fees and stuff like that. So we generally recommend this partnership, but you do have a choice later on, and it does give you tremendous flexibility with the LLC. Number three, there is a reduction in IRS scrutiny. I have been doing taxes for probably 35 years now. I keep adding it up and keep forgetting how many years I've done it. It's well over 30. So I have worked for several accounting firms, and every audit I've ever been involved with, except for one, has involved a Schedule C of the person's tax return. Those Schedule Cs are audit magnets. And so by getting this off onto a partnership return, you reduce the IRS scrutiny considerably. So unless you put something really, really strange on the partnership return, they generally leave you alone. They don't audit I've never been involved with a partnership audit. I've been involved with an S corp audit one time, and that was not related to trading. It was something weird that the owner did. But so you reduce your IRS scrutiny as a result of that. They tend to leave you alone. Number four, I come back to that home office deduction again. That home office deduction opens up fully. So when you're doing, remember I mentioned on the Schedule C that if you're doing a home office deduction, it can be restricted. If you have a loss in trading, you may not be able to take the home office deduction. You might be able to take a percentage of your real estate taxes and mortgage interest. But if you're renting, you're out of luck. And there is no simplified method. You can't use it if you're taking a loss. However, if you get into this partnership, this LLC partnership, home office deduction opens up fully. And we could take a percentage of your mortgage interest and your real estate taxes, or a percentage of your rent. We could take a percentage of your insurance. We could take a percentage of all your utilities, including cell phone and internet. If you've got HOA dues, we could take a percentage of those. Repairs and maintenance, for those of you who live in snowy states, clearing out your drive is maintenance. and we could take a percentage of that. So there's a lot of things here that you can start deducting. And it's our experience that you can usually get a lot in deductions. $1,200 is usually the minimum. That's the base level. And I've seen this go up to $2,000, $3,000 or more for a home office deduction. Now, keep that in mind because I'm going to come back to it in a little bit again. Number 5, it solves the W-2 trading issue. Remember, I mentioned that if you trade on your personal return and you've got a W-2, part-time or full-time trader, the IRS has a conflict with that. Well, this solves the problem because now you've got a W-2 on your personal return. You're trading in a partnership. And so now it looks like you're investing in this business. So they don't have a conflict with that. Now, let me reiterate something. A partnership is a pass-through entity. So everything passes back through to your return again. So it doesn't change anything tax-wise, but it cleans things up so that the IRS doesn't take notice of you as much. Plus it opens, the only thing it changes tax-wise is those increased deductions like the home office deduction. You also deduct your tax prep fee. That's another big item because when you trade on your personal return, you cannot deduct your tax prep fee because there's a personal component as well as the business component. And that could be a major problem. So they're not going to let you deduct the tax prep fee. However, in an LLC, that tax prep fee becomes fully deductible for the partnership. So number 5, it solves the W-2 trading issue. And then I haven't got to this. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but it solves a mark-to-market long-term, short-term dilemma. If you make the mark-to-market election, that changes the accounting of your gains or losses, and that's fine. But if long-term holdings get under that mark-to-market, which the IRS would try to do, then you end up paying taxes on
Hey, Jerry. Sorry, I think I know I lost your audio. Chat, let us know if nope. Okay, yeah, looks like the chat can't hear you either. It was just the past like 10, 15 seconds or so. Still can't hear you.
oh, can you hear me now?
Yep, there we go. You're all good. I'm out.
Okay, sorry about that. There's the button, the mic switch, the mute switch clicked on my
We've all
headset.
been there. No worries.
Sorry.
All right.
So the home office deduction, I'll go back to that point, opens wide up when you have a multi-member LLC. The W-2 trading issue, because it looks like that you've put the stuff into this business that you're sponsoring or you're supporting now, and everything flows back through to your personal tax return. And then finally, the mark-to-market long-term, short-term dilemma. Mark-to-market changes the accounting method of how gains and losses are accounted for. And so the IRS will try to put your long-term holdings, anything for more than 1 year, underneath the mark-to-market. And that way you end up having to pay tax on your unrealized gains. And that's why they do it, because even if you don't sell it, you still end up paying tax on the gains. So we need to separate those two. So generally what we tell our clients is keep the long-term stuff in your personal side, put all the short-term stuff onto the LLC on the short term. And that way we can make the mark-to-market election through the LLC and get those long-term assets as far away from it as possible and make sure that the long-term capital gains rate is kept intact. So it's very important here. Now, before I go on to the last one, because this is a very important point, this last one, I want to talk about partners real quick. Now, you say, who can I have as my partner? A lot of our businesses that we work with, spouses are partners. And one spouse doesn't even trade, doesn't have anything to do with it, but they can still be a partner. say, I don't have a spouse. Well, you could find a family member or a close friend that could take 1% of the business and you still have 99% of it. And 1% does not affect their tax return a whole lot. You say, well, I don't have any of those. Well, here's another option. You could set up what's called an irrevocable trust. Now, an irrevocable trust is when you designate funds, designate profit for the trust, it stays there. You can't pull it back out. That's why it's irrevocable. Now, this is on paper, but you could set up an irrevocable trust for with somebody as a beneficiary or a charity as a beneficiary. We set those up a couple weeks ago for somebody that when something happens to you, this trust then gets the money from the LLC at that point and then pays it to the beneficiary. So you can set one of those up. That's the second partner. Usually that's 99-1 as well. The trust gets 1%. There are other ways to do this. If you already have another business set up, S corporation, C corporation, another LLC, that can serve as a second member. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. So again, need to talk to somebody before it happens. Now, here's the last one. And I like this one because this is one of my favorites, is the tax savings can help pay for the LLC. I'm not joking here. The LLC can actually pay for itself. And so let's explore that a little bit. How will the government pay for your LLC? Well, if you've already got yearly trading expenses, the refund that you get from deducting those expenses could pay for the LLC fee and the tax prep fee. Now, remember what I talked about a little bit ago with the home office deduction and how that gets limited on your personal return. That limitation is eliminated on the LLC, the partnership return, and that can be as much as $1,200. That's usually a minimum, can go higher than that. Keep that in mind. So let's take an example. Let's assume a person lives in Illinois. The yearly LLC is $75 per year, and the tax prep fee is about $600 per year. That's an estimate. I don't know what ours is, and you can call to find out, but I'm estimating there. So just work with me on this. So it's a total of $675 in extra fees that you would have. And some people look at that and say, I don't want to pay that. Well, stick with me. Also assume the person is in the 35% federal tax bracket and the 4.95% Illinois tax rate. So you've got a total of 39.95% in taxes that you're paying. Here's the calculation. This person needs at least $1,015 in trading expenses to get the government to pay for the LLC. In other words, the refund that they get based on that $1,015 is going to take care of the extra fee of $675. Now, let me prove it to you. Here's the proof. Recall our traders got $675 in LLC expenses and a combined tax rate of 39.95%. And we calculated that there's $1,015 in extra trading expenses. Remember a little bit ago, I said the home office deduction opens up wide for a partnership, and that the minimum people usually take is $1,200. That already takes care of it right there. That extra amount that you get at home office deduction can take care of the LLC, extra fees for that. And here's the math behind it. So your total deductible expenses are the $675 that you have in tax prep fee and the LLC yearly fee. You also have the extra expenses of $1,015. Think home office deduction there if you like, or other deductions. That's a total of $1,690 in LLC expenses. When you deduct those on your tax return at the 39.95% rate, you get a refund of $675. There's your extra LLC fees. The government can pay for your LLC. And in most cases, it will take care. So the LLC will pay for itself, quite frankly. And I've watched it happen many, many times. Okay, so what we've looked at so far is we've looked at trader tax status, how you can deduct expenses on your tax return. And we've looked at entities, how entities can be used to actually benefit you to get rid of the IRS scrutiny as well as probably pay for itself, and most likelihood. Okay, let's move on to the mark-to-market election, our last major piece here. The mark-to-market election is a special election for stocks and options traders, only for stocks and options traders. And I'm going to say most options. There are some options that do not work with this because they're traded through the Chicago Board of Trade. SPX is the big one. So if you're trading SPX, that is actually not treated like a stock or option. That is treated like a 1256 futures contract. And so you have a totally different taxation there. So SPX is the big one. There's another handful of some smaller ones. But you might want to check that out to make sure you're not caught off guard, because every year I work with some clients and I do their tax return, and their 1099B comes to me, and I put the 1256 contracts, which a lot of times is SPX, onto their returns, and it's handled differently than their mark-to-market stuff. And they wonder why. They have a cow, and I say, this is it right here. So SPX is taxed differently and does not qualify for the mark-to-market election. All right. This election, what it does, it eliminates wash sale losses, and you end up paying taxes on what you actually earn. If you're not familiar with wash sales, what happens is that the IRS has set up a really screwy system, quite frankly, that if you have a transaction and you close the transaction out and you lost money, if you buy back anything under that ticker symbol, could be an option with a different expiration date, it could be the stock, it could be anything under that ticker symbol, that loss from the first transaction moves to the second transaction. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but if you keep doing this, those losses keep moving in time. And let's say by December, you've racked up $20,000 in these wash sale losses. That can cross December 31st. And so now you've got $20,000 of losses moving from, let's say, 2023 into 2024. What does that mean? It means you're going to pay tax on that $20,000 that you lost in 2023, and you're going to get it back in 2024. So you're paying taxes now on stuff you actually lost money on. So the mark-to-market election gets around that. It actually looks at your account. It's a very simplistic way of doing things. It looks at your account value of your account at the beginning of the year, value of the account at the end of the year. If your account goes up, then that's exactly what you pay tax on. Now, you have to account for contributions, distributions, interest, dividends, and all kinds of other stuff that goes into that. But the concept is very simple. You pay tax on what you actually did, or you can write off exactly what you lose, because under normal accounting, without mark-to-market, you have a $3,000 loss limitation. So now this is computed after you add everything up. So we're getting ready to do 2023's taxes. You add up all your gains and all your losses, and let's say you've got a $30,000 loss for the year after everything's been added together. You can only write off $3,000 on your tax return. The remaining $27,000 has to get carried forward to next year. Again, it's another deferred loss, is really what it is. What this does is that eliminates that. The mark-to-market election eliminates that limitation, so that if you lose $30,000, you get to write off $30,000. And that's very advantageous, because that means your refund's bigger, and you could take that money and put it back into trading or something else that you need. So the concept here with mark-to-market is that you are paying taxes on what you actually earned or deducting what you actually lost. Very simple concept. Really, quite frankly, the way things should be. However, this is an election that has to be made at the beginning of the year for most individuals or most entities. Now, let me say this. In order to do mark-to-market, you have to meet the trader tax status requirements that we laid out at the beginning of the presentation. The 720 trades, the 75% of the trading days per year, and the 500 hours of trading, research, and education. If you don't meet those requirements, then you cannot make the mark-to-market election as an individual. So what we're doing here is we're setting it up so an individual can make the mark-to-market election if they meet the trader tax status requirements. Entities can make the mark-to-market election. But for existing entities and individuals, you have to do it by either March 15th or April 15th, depends on when the tax return for the prior year is due. So for those of you out there who are wanting to do this personally, you have to make the mark-to-market election by April 15th of this year, and it will go into effect for 2024. That is the earliest you can do it. You cannot go backwards with it. Publication 550 is very clear that you cannot go back with a mark-to-market election. It has to be done in that time frame. If it's not done in the time frame for 2024 between January 1st and April 15th, then you will not be able to make it for 2024 at all. For S corps and for partnerships, the election has to be done by March 15th, and C corps, that's April 15th if you're not on a fiscal year. So any entity can make the election. There is one exception to this. When you form a brand new entity, you can make the mark-to-market election immediately. So for example, let's say you're not ready to form an entity right now and you decide in July you want to form that LLC partnership. So you form the LLC partnership in July, you can make mark-to-market there immediately. Now, it will only be for the LLC. It will not go backwards into your personal stuff for this year. It only starts when the LLC starts. So, but you can make it, and once you get your stuff transferred into the LLC, then from then on, you've got the mark-to-market election. So that is very important. So I wholeheartedly recommend to anybody that's trading stocks and options that except SPX, that you strongly consider making the mark-to-market election if you qualify. So let me kind of summarize this, and then I'm going to go to what we need to watch out for. Trader tax status, first of all, allows you to deduct trading expenses if you qualify. Now, that's a very important plateau right there, because that also ties into mark-to-market. Personally, because you've got to meet the trader tax status requirements to do mark-to-market. Forming an LLC, a multi-member LLC, provides asset protection, decreased audit scrutiny, and it could be free. You could get the government to pay for it. Also, the mark-to-market election allows stocks and options traders to pay tax on what was really earned or write off entirely what was lost. And that's an important thing, because you save money in taxes by doing that. And you close out things. You don't have these deferred losses and wash sales and all that stuff that are going on. Now, I've added one thing into my presentations, and it's things to watch out for, because these are things that we have noticed in the last few months that are cropping up. So I want to mention these to you as we go. First of all, a prop firm changes everything. Those of you who are not familiar with prop firms, a prop firm is where you get involved with a company, you invest a little bit of money, but they give you a ton of money to invest, and you're trading for them, basically. When you do that, you are now an independent contractor. Those are not gains and losses. They will pay you a 1099 NEC, and now it's not just subject to income tax like normal gains and losses are. You're now subject to self-employment tax as well. That changes everything. So we want to make sure that if you're doing the prop firm, all this is really out the window, and you need to get some guidance there. As I mentioned, some options like SPX are treated like futures contracts. So make sure that if you're trading SPX or some other ETFs, make sure you know how they're being treated tax-wise. Where it's being traded is being important. If it's traded in Chicago, it's probably treated like a futures contract. If it's traded in New York, more than likely it's treated like a stock or option. Number 3, this has become a big one. Trading other people's money or even giving them advice can create major problems. We have clients or people coming to us say, hey, I'm doing pretty well at trading. I want to start trading my family members, or I've got friends out there who want me to start trading their money. That will get you into trouble with the SEC. Now, Traders Accounting had an issue with this. Not that we were recommending, but one of our clients was doing this, and they got in trouble with the SEC. There are regulations with the SEC. There are state regulations. There are federal regulations that have to be met if you're going to do that. And you really need to be licensed if you're going to recommend or trade somebody else's money. Even giving them advice. If I came to you and said, I think you should be trading XYZ stock next week, wink, wink, or something like that, that can get me in trouble. I can't even give advice. And most companies like Benzinga do not give advice on what to trade. They may tell you what's happening, but they don't give you advice on what to trade because they have to be licensed. And so you don't want to get into that situation where you get in trouble with the SEC, federal law, or state law. And all three of those have to be met. So be very careful about that. And there may be some ways to structure it, but we want to be very careful. And you do not want to just trade somebody else's money or be giving advice because you want to stay out of trouble. All right, here's our contact information again. Again, our website, tradersaccounting.com/Benzinga for that free ebook. Please go ahead and get that for yourself. Our phone number is 1-800-938-9513. And our email is learn@tradersaccounting.com. So I'm going to leave this up for a little bit. And then I'm going to probably take some questions here and try to get the chat.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and pay attention to the chat and
Okay.
see if anyone has any questions, but I appreciate the insights there. Another the most important thing where I've messed up in the past before I called you guys was not selecting the the trader tax status for April 15th. I know that's definitely something. And then, of course, if I wanted to make an S corp, you got to do it during a certain time and all that,
right,
big stuff there as well. So
yeah, timing is very critical on things. So make sure that you pay attention to those time frames.
Yeah. And of course, just, like you said, keeping up those receipts is the biggest thing for me. So I have like a Google Doc where as soon as I know that, hey, I've purchased something that is genuinely for trading expenses, I write down, hey, here's what it is. Here's the receipt. It uploads like a Google Drive very easily. And then here's how much it was. That way, at the end of the year, I can just download that, send it, and then, we are good to go. I'm glad you covered the prop firms because that is such a major part of today's trading world where everyone's trying to get a funded account. Hey, how does that work? And that's one of those things where, hey, you might be getting someone else's money or however that works with that company, but you might pay more in taxes because with self-employment, as obviously
absolutely, yeah, and that can become as a rude surprise to some people. And in fact, I'm going to have to probably counsel some people through that this year because you not only have your income tax, but that self-employment tax is an additional 15.3%. So that can come as a really rude surprise when you get your tax return.
Yeah, especially because if you're used to being a W-2 employee, then you hit it big, and then you thought you were good. Yeah, it's not the fun. I think that's where, depending on every situation is different, but it's, if you want to create an S corp and see if you want to try to properly pay yourself and different things like that, it's really interesting how many different ways you can get creative in the proper situation.
That's right.
Well,
that's one thing we deal with is creativity to make sure everything works for our clients properly. And you mentioned the S corp again. When you form an S corp, there is a salary requirement there. So you do have to pay yourself a salary, which means payroll taxes, W-2s, all the quarterly filings. And really, the only time we recommend our clients do that is if they've got a really good cash flow and they want to start setting up like a 401k, because trading income, and most people don't know this, trading income is not considered earned income and you cannot use it for any type of retirement. IRAs, 401ks, nothing for trading income.
So it's got to be. So that brings up an interesting point for me to ask. Obviously, the name of the business is Traders Accounting, but do you guys do other types of, businesses as well? Like if someone had, I don't know, a lawn mowing business that they wanted to kind of set up or whatever maybe?
Absolutely. We do. Now, primarily, we are 95 to 99% of our returns have some type of trading on them. But some of our traders do own under other businesses. We've got some traders who are medical doctors. We've got some that own other construction companies. So we've got all over the place where we do tax returns for all of that as well. I've been in the business, as I mentioned a little bit ago, for over 30 years. I've seen just probably every kind of return that there is. So, I was a generalist accountant. I did returns for all kinds of businesses. So we can handle just about anything that you've got, but we do specialize in trading.
Gotcha. Yeah. Cause I know for me, for example, I've got like, being an on-air host or whatever, like that's a separate business than trading. But of course, when it's time to then pay your taxes, like, all right, which expense kind of goes where, how does that work out, and all that other good stuff as well. Chat, we've got about another minute here. If you guys have any questions, Jerry, I know, how does it work in terms of like extensions? I guess if you wanted to file for an extension, you just have to make sure that you pay the IRS whatever you believe you may owe. That
Yes.
would penalized on it, right?
Yeah. What happens is with an extensions, you have to make sure that you get your tax completely paid by April 15th, if we're talking a personal tax, because what happens if you pay, let's say you get an extension to file your taxes and you do it, let's say it's September, that's fine for the filing. But if you still owe in September, they are going to hit you with a penalty because you didn't pay back in April. So usually I advise clients, and I hate saying this to people, but if you're going to file an extension in April, overpay so you avoid that penalty, because you will get it back, but you don't want to have to pay that penalty and lose some of that money.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I don't know how big the penalty is, but the word penalty definitely isn't nice.
Yeah, it could be a 0.5% per month up to a particular limit. So it can be quite hefty. I mean, if you owe $10,000, yeah, 0.5%. So, you owe $10,000, that's, what is that? $50 a month there that you're spending. I mean, you could spend that on something else.
Amen to that. All right, Jerry, appreciate you, man. Always great talking to you. Again, love you guys over at Traders Accounting. Tell Raven I said hello. Appreciate you guys in chat. We appreciate you guys for hanging out with us as well. We'll be back with live trading. And I believe AB's coming up here at 11 o'clock. But Jerry, always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Zunaid. Appreciate it. Take care.
Absolutely. And chat, stick around. You've got my man AB coming up next. And we appreciate you for watching live trading and in the special edition with Traders Accounting as well. Take care.